here we are at the first Waterloo World Vault. This is called Fred versus Crispin. Now, this is like Boyd in that you've kind of branded the character, like a little intro, in a kind of train spotting way, I noticed.
Oh.
Is that what you were thinking, was train spotting?
Wait, is
Like,
that it's like...
the name comes up. Fred. Like
Oh,
Boyd,
right,
you
yeah,
know.
transpotting, right.
Ta-da.
This is the only
No.
vault that has, I think, the name just straight up, with him posing in front of it.
It's kind of a fun looking asylum. It looks like he's in a children's asylum.
Oh, I know. Yeah, dude, that one, yeah, the crazy dude that's on his leg seems pretty pleasant, but very small.
Yeah, there's like one guy up on his leg, and then there's a guy down the corner who looks like a naked like Ernie, and then a kid just running for it like with a straitjacket on. Yay!
Yeah, they're having a blast, dude. Not the worst asylum.
But it's not the like a children's asylum, or is it? You never really hear about that. That's a good name for a heavy metal band. Children's Asylum. So it's like a pretty functional, happy, insane asylum. Except for then you see
What?
Fred has gone into a padded cell,
Okay.
which is also kind of like a heavy metal album. It's like an Iron Maiden album in a way.
Oh yeah, this is the cover.
Piece of my mind. And yeah, but that's Crispin in there. And I when you first come to the asylum, you think Crispin's the orderly and Fred's the lunatic. And then at a certain point, it's revealed that Fred was the orderly and Crispin was a patient at the insane asylum.
Right.
I don't know if this is the moment where you realize that, but at some point
I think you realize it this moment, right? Because I mean, well, I guess it looks like Crispin. Crispin is the one dude that looks like he's having a terrible time in this asylum.
Yeah, and you know why? Because he's not a child. He's an adult in a child insane asylum.
Why am I here? Why am I amongst all
Why
these
am I the
kids?
baby asylum?
The worst.
There's no crazy people my own age to talk to. So Fred thinks he'll cheer him up by bringing over a copy of Waterloo O.
Waterloo. Oh.
I just like that name because it's inspired by what game?
Stratego.
Stratego. Which I don't know have you ever actually played a game of Stratego? It was always the board game around my house that like my older brothers had. And
Yeah.
I never really. I think I played once.
I actually played like a year or two ago, and it was fun, man.
Really?
Yeah, it was fun. No wonder it was pretty famous.
Waterloo O is the game.
3 O's.
I didn't realize, like, the name of this level is Waterloo World, which is a reference to a movie, Waterloo World. I mean, Waterworld, which is kind of a weird thing to make a reference to in Psychonauts.
Wait, it's a reference to Water World?
Well, kind of. I mean, Waterloo World, and because Waterworld had just come out. Remember that?
No way. Oh, that came out way before that.
I think it's only a reference in like my mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're right. It was years before. No one knows. Okay.
I always think World War because it's 2 W's. Anyways.
That's a better idea.
So what do you think? Thanks, dude. Yeah, what do you think is up with the little rabbit on Crispin's back?
I was wondering what that little rabbit was for. I assume that was one of the dark animal familiars that is tormenting him and driving him insane.
Probably, dude.
So now they're playing the game of Waterloo O, and Crispin's sitting up on some books because he's really short, and he's got no arms. I don't know how he's playing. I guess we find out in a minute. But Fred has a really condescending look on his face. He's like, "Oh, how cute."
Yeah,
this guy's trying to play a game with me, and he's got a scar down his eye, a little bit like that guy from Lost.
Lost, right.
Locke. He's got like a Locke scar.
Oh, he does have a Locke scar.
Yeah,
you know what that was? I think that's in the rendering. I'm trying to render that there's a little bit extra flesh coming towards you.
Oh, this is how he moves the pieces. That's horrifying. Look at those teeth.
Oh.
Those crazy teeth.
Oh, man. There it is.
I'm just remembering who did the voice for Crispin. It was the guy who played Murdoch.
Yeah, Murdoch from A-Team.
You can kind of see that character right here a little bit coming through. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
We went to record. I was like, "Oh my God, you're Murdoch!" And he goes, "I played a character named Murdoch on a show." Yes.
What?
I offended him. I totally offended him. I felt bad. And on the next slide, Fred is shocked. How can this be?
Wow.
How could a crazy man in a children's asylum beat me, an orderly, a very tall orderly? And he just becomes obsessed with beating him. He's like, "I'm gonna beat him."
He turns into the Riddler.
He turns into the Riddler. and he starts throwing down more pieces, and it looks like Crispin is starting to be aware that he's pushing his buttons because he's got a big smile on his face.
Oh, yeah, yes, he is.
So it seems this experience is waking up something dormant in both of them: a desire to win in Fred, and a sort of evil confidence in Crispin.
Do you think that in this last slide, he's pushing it, maybe it's stuck.
It looks like he's trying to shove it into the board, like trying to press it through the wood.
It's hard to deal with those things when you're starting to become insane.
This was making me want to build an actual version of that game.
Dude, yeah, that
It
would be
looks kind of fun, like those little men and little castle and little flag, and we should get around to that.
I like that it's a hex board too. I think that's pretty fun. Look.
You know, the original version of the game, we had a semi-functional hex game in there, and you had to move the pieces around. Do you remember that version of the game?
Mm.
And the whole thing was a rectangle, and it was a hex game, and you had to put pieces, and they actually fought each other, and it was somewhat simulated, and we just thought it was boring, and so we made a fake game. You don't remember that?
That sounds familiar.
Some poor programmer worked on that pretty hard too.
Oh,
and then we were flying around it with the debug camera, and we got really close to the board, and we're like, wouldn't it be cool if you could actually get really small and get onto the board? And then that's where it went from there.
Really?
Now the second half of Fred's journey into insanity. Fred versus Napoleon. And you're like, Napoleon? How could Napoleon come into modern times? Does he have a time travel machine?
Yeah.
That would be a good movie, Napoleon with the time travel machine.
I think they called it Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
So here we see how that's progressed with Fred trying to beat Crispin at Waterloo O. And it doesn't look like Fred has won very many games.
No. And obviously time has passed because the walls have decayed and there's a bug there.
Yeah. And Fred might have won some games, and then it looks like Crispin may have taken that part of the wall out.
Oh, that could be what happened.
He might be cheating. But it's nice that they took the time to actually draw small caricatures of themselves, not just put the names there.
I know, that's true. And
they really got the nose right, and they got the bandage on Crispin's head.
That's actually his forehead, but yeah.
Oh, that's his forehead.
Yeah, then they even made one guy happy and one guy just not as happy. It's real life.
Which is kind of like, how did they predict that? Because when they first started taking score, they must have not known who was going to win.
Crispin probably started.
Crispin was psyching him out.
Yeah. Well, after a while, he started winning so many games. He's like, you know what, Fred? Let's start keeping track. I'm kind of losing track of how many times I'm beating you.
Okay, now in this next frame, Fred is starting to dance. Why is he dancing?
Fred is starting to dance. He's all.
He's like, I'm feeling the groove.
Crispin's like, finally, you've got your groove back in your legs.
No, his losing of all these games has summoned a genetic memory inside of him, a deep ancestral familiarity with losing and desire for winning. And you see it in the next frame when he looks in the mirror. And who does he see? Oh, how many times has this happened to you?
Oh my God!
Napoleon Bonaparte. And he's like, what?
He's all, dude. What? His hair's messed up. That's a symbol for going a little bit, having a rough time.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
And he turned his back on his patient, which you should never do. Trust me. In an insane asylum. Yeah. And Napoleon awakes, and he's got his hand in his pocket. And remember, we were making this, and someone was like, actually, Napoleon was actually quite tall.
What? Who said
that?
It's
like this myth that he's short.
Oh, maybe I've heard that. Maybe.
No, that's not fun at all, though, is it?
He
leaps out of the mirror, and he knocks Fred's eye right off his head.
Popped right out.
Fred's eye goes flying.
Oh, man, that was...
Oh, jeez.
Probably the worst part of his going insane.
Mm-hmm. And he jumps out of the mirror, which is now filled with a mystical vortex. Mm-hmm. And he goes to strangle.
Wait, I forget if Fred's arms... Weren't Fred's arms super small in real life?
Yeah. No. Yeah, they were. Yeah, they come out. And remember, I was concerned that people would think you're making fun of people with short arms.
Oh, you were?
And you're like, no, it just looks funny. Yeah, I was like, it looks like they're so small. It looks like he is missing part of his arms or something. I was like, people are gonna think we're making fun of the short-armed people.
But I guess I was thinking the joke is like you were excited for him to unwrap his big arms and they turn out
And
to
it's
be
not
small.
that impressive.
But maybe like that. But obviously that joke didn't carry through to this. I didn't draw him like that. Here.
I mean,
Whatever.
well, maybe you know what happened. Maybe he's been in that straitjacket for so long that his arms just atrophied and shrank.
It bound him up. That's true.
That's kind of sad. That's really sad. But now, and I like this picture, the last picture, which shows how happy he is now that he's gone crazy.
That's true. And everyone else is pretty darn happy too, man.
Yeah, and they got their eyes sideways just like he does. And he's like, la la la. There's one thing I knew as soon as we started this game, we had an insane asylum. We were worried that people would think that the game was making fun of people with actual mental problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided it had to be crazy with a K, not just, crazy. So like it had to be over the top, silly kind of crazy, so people would know it was take it in the right, lighthearted. And so we're like, we knew we had to have a guy walking around with a Napoleon hat on because that's just like such a symbol of cartoony insane asylums.
Right. Yeah.
So that was like one of the very early thoughts for this game is that we need to have a Napoleon Bonaparte person in an insane asylum. And ta-da! Here it is.
Yeah. Dreams realized.